Good afternoon, everybody. I am Brian from Third Coast Ministries down here in Matagalpa, Nicaragua. And today I wanted to share with you a communication exercise that we did at a marriage seminar this past Valentine's Day. We went to our church here and it was really special. It was really pretty. It was decorated. The food was great. The material was great. And we did this really neat exercise. And that is the purpose of this video. I wanted to share that with you. But before we get started, here are a few pictures of the event, and then I'll go straight in to the exercise.
Okay, so this is the first drawing, and as I mentioned before, we had about 2 minutes to draw this. One person had to put their hand on the pen, the other person had to put their hand on top of their hand, and you were not allowed to communicate at all. No talking, no gestures, no anything before or during. And as you can see, it looks like a flower. We did okay. But let's zoom in and kind of I'll show you how we drew it and then kind of explain what that means. So let's zoom in right here. When we started the pen was right here, and Judith's hand was on the pen and my hand was on top of hers. And keep in mind, I had no idea what she was thinking, and so she started going like this. I had no idea what was going on, and then about here, I felt she wanted to do a circle. So you can see, we got that. And then she went here, and I didn't know. I thought maybe a smiley face, but we drew a circle here. And so, none of this is here yet. Only this circle and this circle. So I have no idea. And then she went here and went like that and like that. And I was still kind of like, okay. And then when she did this one, my mind clicked. I'm like, I think she wants to draw a flower. And when I think flower, I think of petals like this. She was thinking petals like this. I was thinking petals like that. So you can see as she started to do this part is when I thought petals should be like the other one, and I tried to force what I thought we should do into it, and it got really janky here at the end. You see, it looks good, and then it gets all janky. And then so on the next one, she went like that, and I kind of did it again, and then I think she felt what I was trying to do, and then we did that one, and then we did this one, and this one kind of I don't know what happened there, and then on the last one we got a really nice looking one. So, and then we added these little lines on. I didn't know what was going on, but I was like, whatever. So, as you can see, like, all right, it looks like a flower, but here is what happens when you have conflict and you are not communicating. Each person is trying to exert their, I guess, will or what they think should be going on without communicating. And you can see what happens when you do that. The lines get messed up. And that's kind of how you feel just stress and tension in your relationship. That's what that signifies to me when we did this exercise. And in this one, we had no idea what was going on. But then when I kind of got an idea and we got on the same page, you can see we started to knock something out that looked like a flower. So when we kind of figured it out, we were able to do a little bit better. Now, granted, it took us to the fifth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the fifth one to get a good one, and so that is kind of highlighting the importance of communicating. Without communication, just trying to feel around in the dark, we finally got it right, but you don't want to do that with your relationship, or you shouldn't want to, in my opinion. And so let's scroll down to this part, and this is the stem. So they were telling us to put our pins down, but we started here, and then I felt her moving this way, so I kind of went. I thought we were doing a leaf, whatever. We came down, we did this, It is, and then came back up. So really, it was just kind of real quick. I just kind of held on and went for the ride. So as you can see, no, not to insult anybody's little kids, but this part looks like a little kid drew it. And so if you're not communicating with each other and you're just trying to figure it out without communicating, and you're basically, the output of what you have in your relationship is going to be that of a little kid. And you know, that's pretty much the equivalent to what happened. But let's zoom back out and take a look at it. So as you can see, it's a flower. It came out all right. Not the best flower I've ever drawn. Not the best flower she's ever drawn, probably either. But so there it is. So as you can see, without communicating, you're gonna have problems here. Look at these. And then eventually you might figure it out if you get lucky. But you don't want to leave your relationship to chance. You don't want to maybe figure it out. So that's the first picture. And then now we will cut over to the second picture. All right, this is the second picture of the activity that we got to draw. And before we started on this one, they told us each person can ask the other person, I think it was three questions, but the questions had to be answered yes or no. And so in this moment, we both figured out like, we can only ask picture, or we can only ask three questions, yes or no. We got to draw another picture. So immediately we went back and forth, and it was nice that we kind of figured out what we were doing. So that helped guide our questions. So she asked me three, I asked her three, and we had 2 minutes to draw this one as well. And we had decided on a sun, some clouds, both of us, a flower, and we decided some other things, but 2 minutes to draw is not very long. And for this one, my hand was on the pen, and then her hand was on top of my hand. And so I guess we'll get into how we drew it. We never asked anything about order, because it was yes or no questions. So we didn't, she didn't know what I was starting with. So I will zoom in to the sun because that's where we started. So we started right here, and I was trying to draw a sun. She was thinking cloud, and as you can see, it kind of, and then we came around and got on the same page and did that. And then I wanted to do triangles. I don't think she knew that, so I started here, and then we got that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and then they started coming out nice. These last five came out pretty nice looking. So we got on the same page on that one. And also I'd like to note that we could not talk during this. All we could do was the yes or no, the closed ended questions before. So we knocked out the sun and then came over to the clouds. As you can see, started this one about right here, and I like my clouds to be nice and fluffy. She was thinking something else, so we started, and then you can see like she pulled my hand there, and then I kind of that, and then we were both fighting here to control the pen, and then we both kind of got on the same page, and then this we're still trying to figure it out, and then this one you started here, and they just came out kind of hideous looking. The last little part maybe kind of looks like a cloud. So that's what happens when you're both fighting for control and you're not communicating what you want, and they're not communicating what they want, and you cannot get on the same page. Your relationship will look like these clouds. So after we knocked those out, we came down and started here. I drew kind of a stick figure first, and then I drew this one, and then so I realized I drew it too tall, so that's why I drew the circle down here. And then we drew these really quick like that, put a little that's for her curly hair. I'm bald, so I have no hair. And we tried to do smiley faces, but At this point, we were still both fighting over control. So the smiley faces, when you zoom in, kind of look like some pretty hideous jack-o'-lanterns. But you know, it is what it is. And then we kind of drew the ground, and we want to draw a flower real quick. And I think this looks better than the first flower. Actually, we finished that, a little bit under a second. They're like, time's up. We knocked this one out because we knew flower was the last thing, and like that. Very good. And so that's this picture. And if you haven't noticed, you can see this down here. That is the original two stick figures that we started on, and then realized, like, wow, those are way too small. So we scratched them out. And then when you zoom out, the picture, they would have been way too small. This picture looks better. So for me, the lessons from this one is a little communication makes a huge difference. As you can see, this is a much better picture overall, in my opinion. But you can still see issues fighting for control here, here, and here. And then being rushed and not being able to communicate openly kind of rendered it a little, I don't know, it could be a little more polished. So, like I said, this is the second one. We were only allowed to ask closed-ended yes or no questions before we started, and we're not allowed to do any communication during the drawing. So this is the second one, and now we will go on to the third picture. All right, so this is our third drawing of the night. And before and during this one, we were given about a minute to communicate however we wanted to. We could talk, none of the close-ended questions. We could talk. And then during the drawing, we could also communicate with each other. But the only deal was there was also the 2 minute time constraint. And then as well, one person's hand on the pen and the other person's hand on top of their hand. So if this looks familiar, it's because we chose to draw the decorations here. And the reason why it looks a little different is this photo is taken from the right side of these decorations, and we were sitting on this side. So when we were sitting, we were looking at it this way. So that's why it kind of looks like that. So let's go back to the picture and zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, we drew a circle first for the hoop, and we were able to be like, hey, let's draw a circle first. So we started with the circle, and then it's kind of hard to see, but there was lines connecting everything. So we drew that line first, and then we were able to talk about, well, which ball should we draw first? So if you go back, you can see that from this direction, this would be in front of that would be in front of that. So that's kind of, I was like, I think we should draw this one first. And she was like, all right. So we drew this one first, and then drew the circle behind it, and then came down and drew this circle, and then this circle, and then we came back in and added these details. So if you see, they got the seams and then the wires. So we were able to add these kind of details, and the little circle at the bottom like that, there, and then here and here, and then here and here. And then we were able to draw the lines coming down that were holding everything. And then we wanted to show that it was not just a circle, but more three-dimensional. So we started on this right as they were telling us to stop. We were trying to draw this hoop right here, as you can see. And then there's the lines I was talking about. So this one came out a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, we're not gonna sell it for $1 million. It's never going into a museum, but you can see the difference in these. The level of communication makes a huge difference. We were able to talk about it, and what this means is, you need to be doing this in your relationship as well. When you're communicating, you can get on the same page, you can get in the same movements and the same groove, and you can really do some good things. So let's take a look back. So this was the very first one. Here was the second one again, and then here was or here is the last one. And so I like this one the best. And to me, the lesson was you need to communicate. Communication is so important in any relationship, not just with your wife or with your husband, with your kids, coworkers, friends. Communication is key. So don't forget that. That to me, that was the big takeaway that I took from this was communication, and the other takeaway was when you're both fighting for control and both just kind of going at each other, not really listening to the other person, you get things like this that don't even look like clouds or, as I mentioned here already. So remember, communication is key, and don't try to exert your will on the other person. That's not how a loving and caring relationship should be. So that's my takeaway from these. I hope it helps you maybe. And yeah, so that's it.